Hi, this is Julie, and I'm here to facilitate the discussion on 3 ways to achieve a more equitable representation of culturally and linguistically different students in the GT program by Ernesto M. Bernal. Um, in the beginning, there has been years and years of discussion of the underrepresented multicultural groups. In the 60s and 70s, Torrance and Birch discussed African Americans. In the 80s and the 70s, Fraser discussed, and Baldwin also discussed underrepresentation of Hispanics. And then Tomac brought up the underrepresentation of Native Americans. There has been many people given many discussions and reasons and ways to improve the problem, but the number one problem still goes back to gifted coordinators and district administrations. That's where the problem needs to begin to start to be fixed. Lawsuits have helped keep the no change, just keep everything the same. There has been multiple lawsuits throughout the country that have resulted in no changes in underrepresentation of students. Most of these lawsuits have been white students suing to go to a majority minority magnet school. The white students were being denied admission even though their scores were higher than the minority students that were being admitted. The lawsuit's outcome had favored the white students. Why? Because they're stuck in the status quo. There was no data, no documentation to prove that their test scores were being better or lowered. And there's no presentation of diversity at these schools that were strictly minority, which undermines the point of what multicultural is. What do you do when you have a school that is a major minority school? I know in my district, there are certain elementary schools that are predominantly African American students, which is where most of the data comes from. It does come from majority elementary schools where it'll show you, this is the percentage of African American students that are labeled gifted, or Native American students, or Hispanic students. There was a study done at a predominantly Mexican American school in Texas, and the outcome showed that many white parents from the high socioeconomic area feel that they need to distance themselves from children of the lower Hispanic socioeconomic class, which is an ongoing problem throughout this whole country. It is that separation, the white privilege, white male privilege, and things like that. However, I know currently at my school, our gifted program, it does have majority white students, mixed girls and boys. However, we do have Middle Eastern students and some African American students also in the program. We also have a few Asian students. We do not have a Native American population because it's very underrepresented at my school system currently. Now, how do you improve the program? Okay, evaluation. First, ask yourself, who's in the program? How can you diverse the program? Number one, you train minority teachers. You get the teachers trained. In my county, the schools that are majority minority schools have minority trained gifted teachers. You find new ways to enter the program. The article also stated that even doing just a portfolio is still kind of biased. It's not always the best way. And we've got to redo the curriculum. We've got to find new ways to get the students in there besides just giving a test score. Another way to improve the program is recruitment. Getting more teachers in the gifted program and more minority leaders in gifted. Think about your school system. How many leaders are actually of a minority group? When you go to think about that, most of us would probably be able to say, not many, because I know my gifted coordinator is not a minority. She is a white lady. Most of the people that work for her are white. When you think about your superintendent, your district offices, all of those positions, think, How can we improve that area? Another way to improve the program is bringing a multicultural program. Banks says there are 5 must-haves that can reduce racism in a multicultural program. One, content integration of different cultures. I know for Georgia in the 7th grade, we discuss Asian and African cultures for the whole year. To me, that's a great way to bring in different cultures to open the students' eyes to see the world around them. Another thing that's also a must have is knowledge construction, investigation, and individual perspective. You've got to know what you're talking about, and you've got to get everybody's view. We're going to be having these difficult conversations, and it's okay to have these difficult conversations. Allow the students to also have the difficult conversations. Another way too is prejudice reduction, to bring on positive attitudes, and then equity pedagogy for learning styles. You've got to have an equal representation to bring up the different ideas and different ways of learning. And the last way, which is not on here but it will be, is empowering the school culture with different ethnic groups. My school does an awesome job of this. We have an international night where all the cultures are represented for that night, and it's kind of like a food tasting. Each culture of student that we have, and it's everything from Pakistan to Lebanon to Australia to Germany, they bring in food. We have Malaysian, Vietnam, Korean food, and they, have displays of their culture, and the students get to go around and have little passports and test all the different foods and learn about these different cultures. Giving schools ways to empower their students so they learn about all these cultures would be a great way to improve multiculturalism. And another way to improve, kind of to end it all, to get the underrepresentation to improve, is you've got to get those minority teachers in gifted positions. I'm a white teacher. I'm going to be in a gifted position. When I look at my school, all of the teachers, none of them that are all labeled the gifted teacher, they're all white teachers. Even though my school has a very unique culture, the African American teachers, they're not in the position of being a gifted teacher. Now, in other schools in my county, that is the case. There are minority teachers in that position, and that is a big thing. We've got to get those teachers in those positions. You've got to get your teachers trained. You've got to get multiply trained gifted teachers. I feel that I'm pretty well versed in a lot of cultures because I have taught for many years, and I did teach 7th grade where I had to learn about these cultures. You've got to understand, about these cultures. And I'm also the type of person, I'm not afraid to ask questions. My students that's from Pakistan, I'm not afraid to have him talk to me about his Quran or bring that in to learn more about his culture. And you have to evaluate the data. We've got to figure out a way to make this data be representative of all students, not just the white students. These are ways that we can improve. So I pose to you this question: what can you do to improve the representation of underrepresented students in your school? Thank you.